Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geostrategic Pulse. Thank you for watching or listening to the podcast. Did NATO just make one of the biggest military decisions of the decade? After abandoning Boeing's E-7 Wedgetail, the alliance has chosen Sweden's Saab GlobalEye and unveiled a new multinational A400M fleet. Is this simply a modernization program or the beginning of Europe's biggest push for defense independence? In the next few minutes, we'll explain what happened, why it matters, and how this decision could reshape the future of NATO and even transatlantic relations. Before we dive in, if you enjoy military analysis, geopolitics, and defense technology, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone interested in global security. Now we'd really like to hear from you. Do you think NATO made the right choice by moving away from Boeing and choosing a European solution? Or should the alliance stay with an American platform? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We read every comment, and the best discussions often shape future episodes. Now, let's get started. Okay, let's unpack this.
Looking at the latest news out of the NATO Summit Defense Industry Forum in Ankara, this is from July 7th, 2026, we are seeing, well, two massive updates that totally restructure how the alliance operates.
Yeah, massive is definitely the right word for it.
Right. So first, they are retiring the 1982-era Boeing E-3 Sentry fleet. You know, those iconic Cold War planes with the giant rotating radar domes on top. And they're replacing them with up to 10 Saab GlobalEye aircraft.
Which is a huge shift.
Exactly. And second, 7 allied nations are launching a pooled Airbus A400M transport fleet.
What's fascinating here is the timeline and, more importantly, the underlying mechanics of why this pivot occurred. I mean, if we rewind to November 2023, NATO had actually officially selected the Boeing E-7 Wedgetail to be its airborne surveillance backbone.
Oh, wow. So they already chose it.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a done deal.
Wait, so NATO essentially signed a lease on an American platform only to tear up the contract and go with a Swedish one. I mean, it sounds like buying a house and backing out at closing because you suddenly noticed the plumbing. What actually broke the deal?
Well, the unraveling really started stateside, driven by a major shift in military technology. So in June 2025, the U.S. Air Force abruptly canceled its own E-7 procurement.
Really? Just canceled it outright?
Yeah, just like that. They realized that in a modern conflict, a massive, slow-moving radar plane is essentially a giant bullseye for long-range missiles. So the U.S. pivoted towards space-based sensors, meaning satellite networks, and a smaller aircraft carrier-capable radar plane called the E-2D Hawkeye.
I want to pause right there because that tech shift is crucial. Like, why are space-based sensors so much better that you'd scrap an entire aircraft program?
Mostly it comes down to survivability and physics, really. Like, a satellite in low Earth orbit just cannot be shot down by standard anti-air missiles.
Right, that makes total sense.
It looks down on the battlefield persistently without putting a human crew at risk. The E-7, while, highly capable, well, it represented a middle ground the U.S. felt was increasingly vulnerable.
Interesting.
But once the primary backer and developer pulled out of the E-7 program, the financial and logistical calculus for the European partners completely fell apart.
Yeah, it's like buying the latest smartphone, only to find out the manufacturer is shutting down the App Store next month. You are buying into an ecosystem that the U.S. isn't even fully supporting themselves.
Exactly. Which leads directly to the Dutch Ministry of Defense pulling the plug. On November 13th, 2025, Dutch State Secretary for Defense Dies Tuinman announced they were abandoning the 6-aircraft Wedgetail acquisition.
Wow, just totally walking away.
Yeah, and he explicitly cited the need to invest in European industry. And, based on the latest info, this European drive for industrial autonomy is happening during a really tense political window.
Oh, for sure.
This news from Ankara dropped just days after Washington was heavily pressuring allies to buy U.S. equipment.
And instead of listening to Washington, they are going with the Saab GlobalEye. What does the GlobalEye actually do differently? I know it uses the Eye extended range radar, but skip the jargon for a second. How does it change the game in the sky?
Well, think of the old Boeing E-3 radar as a lighthouse. The dome rotates and the radar beam sweeps across the sky.
Okay, got it.
If it misses something, you have to wait for the beam to spin all the way back around. But the GlobalEye uses a fixed plank on top of a business jet. It's an active electronically scanned array, or AES.
Oh.
So instead of a sweeping lighthouse, imagine 1,000 laser pointers darting everywhere at the speed of light. It doesn't have to wait. It can track a stealthy drone skimming the ocean waves and a supersonic fighter jet at 40,000 feet simultaneously without missing a single beat.
And they're putting that on a Bombardier business jet, so it's way cheaper to fly than a massive airliner. I mean, that is a massive operational leap for the 14 aging Sentries currently flying out of NATO airbase Geilenkirchen.
It really is a generational leap, and honestly, a monumental win for Saab. I mean, an order of 10 aircraft is their largest GlobalEye sale to date, joining a rapidly expanding European user base like Sweden and France.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. This push for European independence isn't stopping with the radar in the sky. It's completely changing how they move troops and equipment on the ground.
Right, the cargo fleet.
Exactly. The other massive update out of Ankara is the multinational Airbus A400M initiative. Belgium, Croatia, France, Poland, Spain, Turkey, and the UK are jointly funding and operating a shared cargo fleet. It's essentially a military timeshare.
That's a great way to look at it.
Right. Countries like Croatia and Poland don't even operate these planes nationally, but by pooling their money, they get guaranteed access without footing the bill for a whole fleet.
And it solves a massive economic headache for smaller nations. I mean, heavy tactical airlift is incredibly expensive. Through this model, a country like Croatia gets assured access to a massive cargo plane without the crushing financial burden of maintaining a national fleet.
I have to push back on that, though. A military timeshare sounds great on paper for saving money.
Yeah.
But what happens when a real crisis hits?
Yeah, that is always the big concern.
If an adversary starts amassing troops near Poland, and simultaneously France desperately needs the planes for an extraction mission in Africa, who gets the keys to the plane?
That is the exact friction point that caused an earlier attempt at this in 2022 to fail. But they've solved the mechanics of it now. They use a strict, prioritized mission matrix.
A matrix. How does that work in practice?
So nations buy guaranteed flight hours rather than specific airframes. In peacetime, it's scheduled out like civilian cargo. But in a crisis, NATO's unified command structure can seamlessly assume operational control and prioritize based on the Supreme Allied Commander's threat assessment.
So they're essentially trusting the alliance's central nervous system over their own sovereign scheduling. I mean, that requires a massive amount of trust.
It definitely does, but they already have a proven blueprint. They successfully pioneered this exact model with the multinational multi-role tanker transport fleet, the MRTT, over in Eindhoven.
Oh, right, the refueling jets.
Exactly. In fact, parallel to the Ankara summit, Finland just officially joined the MRTT as its 9th member. They are steadily moving toward a full strength of 12 aircraft, which proves that pooled ownership isn't just an isolated experiment, it actually works in daily operations.
Especially with a plane like the A400M. Airbus has actively designed it to be a multi-mission platform. It doesn't just haul cargo. It handles electronic warfare, intelligence gathering, and mid-air refueling.
It's extremely versatile.
Right. So by pooling resources, these smaller nations aren't just getting a delivery truck, they're getting a Swiss Army knife.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is exactly the dynamic NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte was emphasizing in Ankara. The alliance has pledged to spend 5% of GDP on defense.
Which is a huge jump for a lot of them.
It is. And to hit those massive numbers efficiently and build real, tangible capacity without bankrupting domestic economies, these integrated multinational ownership models are practically a necessity now.
So what does this all mean for you and the future of global security?
Bringing this down to earth, it means Europe is moving past relying solely on American defense contractors. They are taking their own industrial autonomy seriously and physically pooling their resources to hit those ambitious defense targets. It means the tax dollars of European citizens are finally staying in Europe, building up local defense jobs instead of flowing straight to the U.S.
But it also means that if a massive conflict breaks out tomorrow, NATO forces have to ensure these European-built planes can perfectly plug into American digital systems without any glitches.
That integration is definitely the tightrope they are walking, and this raises an important question.
Well, what's that?
If Europe continues to successfully build and pool its own specialized platforms, from Saab surveillance jets to Airbus airlifters, will the traditional U.S.-dominated defense market adapt to treat Europe as a true equal competitor? Or will this fierce industrial competition eventually strain the military unity NATO was originally built on?
That is the big question going forward, for sure. Well, thank you everyone for listening to or watching the deep dive today.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
We really appreciate your time. Be sure to check out the other podcasts on our channel for more defense analysis and geopolitical insights. We'll see you next time.